Namaste, people. I hope you're well. Natasha Anand here with another 1108 transmission. Today, I'm going to talk about karma and dharma, two important aspects of the yogic path. And this word karma is bounded about a lot. We flippantly use it. And there are a lot of misconceptions around the concept of karma. Karma is not a punishment. It's not something that comes back to kick you in the ass, per se. Karma is in itself part of a self-organizing system, as is the divine nature of reality, of consciousness, of energy. We are in a self-organizing system, and we forget that because we push and we try and control and make things happen, when we are naturally aligned to the creative intelligence and the creative flow of the universe, which is intrinsic in value, which is fundamental, which is what is in value of living and experiencing a soul, expressing a soul. And certainly in this level of relative reality, we are breathing humans. We are on a path of growth and evolution, and everything organizes itself naturally around us according to our consciousness, according to the evolutionary action that we take, according to the downward spiral or the karmic whirlpool we find are in, whatever is happening, whatever is evolving within your field of consciousness happening. We think that things are happening to us, when in reality, we are what's happening. And all of this that we are sat within is a self-organizing system, no matter how we perceive it. That's my point. It doesn't really matter how you perceive it, it's a self-organizing system. There comes to a point when we reach a level of consciousness and we are able to participate in that in a more sovereign manner. That we have full control over how we reincarnate, where we reincarnate, but that's not where we're going with this. We're talking about this life right here, right now. Our karma is self-organizing and creates the life that we live in, depending on the karma that we are carrying right now in this moment. So karma simply means our karma is a conditioned identity that we have created and that we are constantly creating with each new thought process, with each new action, with each new behavior. And we accumulate this karma within our lifetime, and we move into the next lifetime with whatever accumulation of karma we've amassed. And our next lifetime is decided by us in part, but also by this self-organizing system. We are flung into a new life that's going to organize things for us in a certain way according to the karma that we're bringing to that life, according to the lessons that are going to be really valuable for us to learn, we will move into that next life. So there's no judgment in the karma, like in the karma system, which evolves and which we find ourselves in, a karmic whirlpool, shall we say, when we're kind of stuck in that looped spiral of things happening to us and being in our trauma and being in our conditioned identity and creating suffering for ourselves and for others. When we're stuck in that place, there's still no judgment about it, because yes, we live in a dualistic relative reality and we see things as good or bad, and it's easy for the mind to see that this is shit and this is really bad, but also at the same time, that experience of duality, that, oh, this is really uncomfortable, this is really discomforting, this is really painful, or whatever it is, this is really dark, it gives us that contrast to see what's there to be healed and what is up to be worked through. It shows us how to come into the light. And it's a really important aspect of this relative reality, and very much why we chose to come to Earth, because of this experience that will guide and show us the way. At the same time, within this system, there isn't any judgment about what you're experiencing was bad, or you weren't very spiritual because you went through this, or any of that stuff. It's all just seen as a system. It's just what we go through in order to come out the other side. So every time that we experience a trauma, or we create a trauma, or we create suffering, or we speak out of line or out of alignment with our own self, soul energy, heart energy, or whatever it is, we're creating this karma. And also we're walking minute to minute, having conversations, creating behaviors and scenario situations. We're just creating new karma all the time. So one of the first things that we can do when we start to really wake up to our true nature and understand what this is, what we are, and what we're doing here, and we start to work that out for ourselves, one of the things that we can do is we can start to eliminate the unnecessary karma that we're creating for ourselves and for other people, because it's getting us trapped in that downward spiral of the karma, the whirlpool, the karmic whirlpool. And it gets tricky to pull ourselves out of that, and requires some work. But yeah, we can stop creating this karma unnecessarily by being more conscious about the way that we communicate, about the way that we behave, the way that we react towards others. And that's very much down to the minute-to-minute work on ourselves, the day-to-day, minute-to-minute work. We can do all the practice in the world. We can do 2 hours of yogic practice every day, meditative practice every day, and that's really beautiful, and that's going to support us to be able to anchor into self energy and to observe from that place. And at the same time, the real work happens in the minute by minute, when you're away from your yoga mat, when you're away from your meditation cushion, when you're away from your creative practice. It's how we respond to those triggers, those age-old triggers that we've had since we've been children, how we respond to people, how we take on certain experiences, certain thoughts within our own mind-body complex. We can shift the way that our body responds also to certain stimulus, and shift it away from a more karmic trauma, fear, worry, anxiety response into a different response, into a response that is aligned more to soul energy. And so what I mean by that is when we are anchored into the seat of soul and we observe what's going on, we no longer have to react. We no longer have to follow that reaction. We can observe what is coming up within our fields of consciousness and within the body, and allow that to be without ourselves blending with it, without going into that. So we don't become the pain. We align to soul perspective on what we're seeing, the soul experience to what we're seeing, which is still being able to embody that pain and face it and be with it, and it be sat in the body, and to be feeling the physicality of that pain, yet to not dive into it per se, so we become that pain, and then everything from us is an expression of that pain in many different ways. And then our behavior is a result of that, and that's what we project onto others. We do have the ability, as crazy as it sounds, to simply sit back and allow that stuff to arise and simply watch the anger. Watch it boil up. Feel it knotting parts of the body up, tensing parts of the body up, but not become it. Just simply allow it to be there, acknowledge it and work through it. Observe it from this place of actual joyfulness, of playfulness, of curiosity. It is possible to do that. It takes the practice, and to remember in that moment as that's arising, to keep remembering that this practice is possible, and in time it becomes more natural, and in time we're able to recalibrate those old karmic responses and neutralize them and bring them into a different way of response. And that's when we are moving away from creating new karma and we move into Dharma. And Dharma is a purposeful living, where we are working with the evolutionary action, the energy of evolutionary action, to live a purposeful, fearless, present life, where our actions and behaviors, our projections, our evolution is based on this energy of evolution itself. Our progression is based on the energy of evolutionary action. So the thought process that we have, the spontaneous right action that we take in that moment is evolutionary. It's energetic. It's enlivening our consciousness. It's aligned to the soul expression of the heart, of compassion, of kindness, of curiosity, of playfulness, of clarity, of confidence, of those soul characteristics that help us to remember how to anchor back into our sense of self. So karma is also this identity that we create for ourselves. And then from this identity that we create from ourselves, we create more karma. And that identity that we create from ourselves is from this old stuff that we've come with the baggage, the adverse childhood experiences, the real trauma that we experienced, that we perceived to experience at that time. And because we didn't have the resources and the safety around us, it felt so awful and so bad that our system, our internal world, the parts of our mind came in and formed all these layers of protection. And then all of our not all of our behavior, but aspects of our behavior moving forward, it is part of this new identity that's created around protection. And that karma, that conditioned identity, becomes us until we remember that that is not all of who we are, that we are not simply these conditioned aspects of our personality, that we are also soul. We are present, anchored, taking evolutionary action, aligned to the creative intelligence. So that is a nutshell of karma and dharma. So these two sit side by side, and in a dualistic nature can be seen as two faces of the same coin. And Perhaps we can see it that way. Maybe in the beginning it's easier to explain things in that way. Yet karma and dharma are simply two aspects of this expression of humanity, of living within this relative reality. So we can be on a karmic path, the karmic whirlpool, or we can be on a dharma path, in our dharma, creating dharma. And it's our choice, completely our choice. And as we're stabilizing into dharma, we're like dipping in and out of karma and dharma, and we're like, oh, and falling back into those old patterns and remembering and ultimately, soul is dharma. We are dharma. We are purposeful. We already are fully self-realized and self-actualized. We are purposeful. We are evolutionary. We are already all of those things. What ultimately we're doing is detaching from the karma, is cleansing and purifying the karma, and ceasing to unnecessarily create karma, so that we are fully stabilized onto our dharma path and we're no longer just treading water. So that karma, we can clear it using kriya, which is evolutionary action. Kriya isn't just the practices, the kind of the physical practices that you traditionally see in a kundalini, Himalayan kundalini or yogi bhajan kundalini class. Kriya is any evolutionary action that brings in that abundant energy, that has the ability to transmute the energy of that karma, because that karma is carried around as an old energy. And it sits in the field as the burdens of trauma and as the baggage that we pick up, as these conditionings and these patternings, these self-defeating programs. They're sitting in our various energy fields. So the kriya, the evolutionary action, that energy comes in and it simply transfigures it, transmutes it into a new vibrant energy. It helps us release some of that old energy, simply release it to the earth, and then some of it gets also transformed into a new high vibrational energy. My teacher Anand Mehrotra says that some of our karmas, it's like written in pencil, and it can be just rubbed out with an eraser. And so what that means is it takes some work, some energy work, and some of that stuff can just go really easily and it's gone. But some of it's written in ink, and it's going to take several attempts and an abundant of practice, deep energy practice, to really get that ink out of the paper, to really get into the biocellular memory of the body and the energy fields, to really cleanse that karma. And sometimes it's consistent practice, consistently for days, months, years, to be able to pull that energy out and transmute it. It completely depends on the level that we've attached and bonded ourselves to those burdens, that we've held on to them, and how deep they go. So this practice of kriya, in its various forms of seated practice, of meditation practice, of being in nature, of hiking, creative expression, singing, painting, there's so many ways that we can transmute energy, other energy practices, quantum practices, working with crystals, working with Reiki. We have this endless, infinite technology that's able to transmute energy in different ways. So when we practice on a daily basis with our meditation, with our sacred rituals, and then with our, energy practice, Reiki, Kriya, Himalayan Kriya, Hatha practice, pranayama, we are transmuting this energy that we're carrying around with us every day. And then when we go into the real world, we're applying this new found energy, this new clarity that we have. So the old baggage, some of it is gone, and we're remembering in that moment to moment to do that work, and we're applying ourselves in that moment. And that's where we learn to embed and to really stabilize into those new behaviors, those new ways of being, those evolutionary ways of interacting with each other and the world, and remembering to correct ourselves so that we're not creating more karma. Correcting ourselves is what I'm going to leave you on, because it's the absolute number one tool that we have. In the moment when we notice a correction needs to occur, we make the correction. We make it in our mind, we articulate it in some way, or we express that energetically, and we make that correction. When we see that a correction needs to be made and we don't consciously make the correction, we're just like, oh, I'll do that next time, then we're just saying that it's okay. It's okay for that thought to be there. It's okay for that behavior. And it is on a level, but what I'm saying, we're just saying like it's okay to keep projecting that. It's okay to keep projecting that suffering, creating that suffering. And so when we correct it, what we're saying is it's okay, and actually we can express this in a different way, and we're embedding that within our system and showing ourselves and showing the parts of our internal world that it's okay, there's no shame in it, we're just simply making a correction. And that work in the moment is so fundamental. So I invite you to spend this time during quarantine, during your self-imposed quarantine, because you're a sovereign, free-willed being, and you are choosing to quarantine yourself, or you are choosing to stay in your home, or you are choosing to, however you express it, you are choosing to take this time and to go into the void. So I pulled this card just before this transmission. The void. Go into the void. This is the place of stillness. This is the place of silence, the place of Shiva, the place where creativity is born. The void, which allows us to be still and be silent and be present within ourselves, and to allow the energy to arise. Because from the void and the stillness arises the Shakti, the energy. From the Shiva arises the Shakti, and that energy, that vibration which creates light, which creates all this evolutionary action, is going to arise from your field of consciousness and is going to guide you. So when you're in that silence and you've gone inwards and you've been spending this time to nurture yourself and understand what it is that you are wanting to flow to next, really tuning inwards and to just being in your own presence and allowing whatever is arising to arise within your field of consciousness and show you who you are and show you where to go next. From this will also arise the energy, the motivation, the inspiration, the ideas, the guidance. That energy will arise to guide you. So spend this time wisely, going into the void as much as you can, being in silence, being in your presence, and trusting that the energy, the Dharma, the Kriya the energy is going to move through you and create that evolutionary action, that Kriya, that spontaneous right action. It's going to place you firmly on your path of Dharma and remind you of who you are and why you are here. I hope you have a beautiful day. Enjoy. I hope to connect with you soon. Please check out the free course, Protect Your Mind, Body, and Energy Field, which my husband and I released over a week ago. The links are in my bio or on my Facebook page, Natasha Anand. Really beautiful, simple tools to protect your mind, body, and energy fields. And watch out also for the Holistic Medicine Practitioner Training, our online course that we're going to be promoting more from this week. It is a lighter touch to our teacher training programs. And if you are wanting to develop your practice as a healer, as a teacher, as a guide, as a public health worker, as a youth and community worker, if you work with people in a therapeutic capacity in any way, then this course is going to help you to develop your self-practice, to do your own self-healing, and develop your own professional and business development as well. Have a beautiful day. I will see you soon. Namaste.